If we find life on Mars, it might be the worst news in human history. Not a triumph, not a celebration, a countdown. Picture the moment, a sealed lab, harsh white light, a scientist leaning over a rock carried home across the gulf between two worlds. And there it is, a fossil, a trace of something that once lived on another planet. The room erupts, headlines everywhere. We are not alone. And a handful of the smartest people alive go very quiet. Because that little dead thing in the stone is not a miracle. It is a warning. By the end of this, you will understand why some of the clearest thinkers on Earth are quietly hoping the universe stays empty. Everything turns on what we find on Mars. So start with the scale of it. The universe has been running for more than 13 billion years. The observable part holds an estimated hundreds of billions of galaxies, each one packed with hundreds of billions of stars. And we now know planets are common, roughly one or more around almost every star we survey. Rocky worlds, warm worlds, worlds with liquid water and the same chemistry that built you. Run the numbers and one answer screams back. The sky should be crowded, civilizations rising and falling, ancient empires, probes drifting between the stars. The galaxy should be loud. In 1950, a physicist named Enrico Fermi sat down to lunch at Los Alamos. The conversation drifted to aliens and flying saucers. And Fermi asked a question so simple it has haunted science ever since. Where is everybody? Think about that. If the universe is this old and this vast, if life should be everywhere, then where are they? Where are the signals? Where are the ships? We point our telescopes outward. We listen on every frequency we can. We search for heat and light and the faint chemical fingerprints of life in distant skies. And the answer that comes back is the most unsettling thing imaginable. Silence. No transmissions. No ruins. No probes coasting in to say hello. A cosmos that should be roaring with voices is dead quiet. This is the Fermi Paradox. The universe is built for life, and the universe looks empty. Stick around till the very end, because the silence we are about to explain might be the best news our species has ever received. It just wears a terrifying mask. So how do you explain a sky that should be screaming but stays silent? In 1998, an economist at George Mason University named Robin Hanson wrote an essay with a chilling title, The Great Filter. Are we almost past it? His idea is brutally simple. Picture the whole journey from nothing to a galaxy-spanning civilization as a long staircase. At the bottom, dead chemistry on a lifeless rock. Then the first spark of life. Then complex life. Then intelligence. Then technology. Then a species that spreads across the stars and lasts. Every world that goes the distance has to climb every single step. Hanson argued that somewhere on that staircase there is a wall. A step so improbable that out of all the trillions of starting points across cosmic history, almost nothing makes it past. That is the great filter, and the silence is the proof it exists. The climb is not easy. Something stops nearly everyone, which leaves one question that decides our entire future. Is the wall behind us, or is it ahead of us? Sit with both answers, because everything hinges on this. If the filter is behind us, we already did the impossible thing. We are the rare survivors, and the road ahead is open. But if the filter is ahead of us, then every civilization that ever rose hit a wall and died. And we are walking straight toward it, smiling, with no idea it is there. So where could that wall be? Let me walk you through the suspects. Suspect 1 is life starting it all. Abiogenesis, the leap from lifeless chemistry to something that copies itself. We still do not know how hard it is. On Earth, it seems to have happened early, within roughly the first billion years, though the very earliest evidence is debated. Some read that as proof life is easy. Others say a single example proves nothing. Hold that thought, because Mars is about to turn it into a weapon. Suspect 2 is the one that should genuinely scare you. The jump from simple cells to complex ones. Every living thing you have ever seen is built from complex cells called eukaryotes. They carry a nucleus and tiny power plants inside them. The biochemist Nick Lane at University College London argues in his 2015 book, The Vital Question, that this kind of cell arose from a single bizarre merger. A simple host cell, an archaeon, somehow absorbed a bacterium. Instead of digesting it, the host kept it alive inside. That captured bacterium became the power supply of every complex cell that followed. And here is the part that should stop you cold. As far as we can tell, that merger only succeeded once. Once in roughly 4 billion years of life on this planet. For billions of years before it, Earth was nothing but slime. Tiny, simple, going nowhere. Every plant, every animal, every person traces back to that one accident. If Lane is right, this might be the wall the universe almost never clears. Suspect 3 is intelligence. Not just a brain, but a mind that asks why. That does math. That builds a radio and points it at the sky. On a planet that has hosted billions of species, that leap has happened exactly once. It may be far rarer than it feels. And suspect 4 is the last wall, the one waiting at the top of the stairs. Self-destruction. A species clever enough to reshape its world might be clever enough to end it. Carl Sagan and others worried about exactly this. In the famous Drake equation from 1961, there is a final letter. L, the lifespan of a technological civilization. How long does it last before it wipes itself out? Nobody knows, and that unknown might be everything. So which wall is it? Behind us or ahead? Honestly, the story so far is uncomfortable but survivable. Maybe the hard step was that one impossible cell merger, and it is already behind us. And then we point a camera at Mars, and the whole story detonates. Right now, NASA's Perseverance rover is rolling across Jezero Crater, an ancient dried-up river delta. It is drilling into Martian rock, sealing cores and tubes, and caching them in the hope of a future mission to carry them home. The plan to return those samples is currently under review and unfunded, but the rock is sitting there, waiting. And one thing scientists are hunting for is a fossil. A trace. Proof that Mars once had life of its own. Everyone expects that to be the greatest headline ever written, life found on Mars. But follow the logic. If life appeared independently on Mars, right next door, then life is not rare. Life is easy. The universe makes it wherever it gets the chance, which means abiogenesis is not the wall. The early steps are not the wall. They cannot be, because life cleared them twice in one small corner of one galaxy. And if the early walls fall away, the filter has nowhere left to hide, except in front of us. This is the real argument made by Nick Bostrom at the University of Oxford. In 2008, he published a piece in MIT Technology Review with a title that sounds insane until you understand it. Why I hope the search for extraterrestrial life finds nothing. His point is hard to escape. Finding life on Mars would be bad news. And the more advanced that life is, the worse the news gets. A dead microbe is alarming. A complex fossil is worse. The wreckage of an intelligent civilization would be catastrophic. Because every rung that alien life managed to climb is a rung we now know is not the filter, which means the filter is still ahead of us. The great death we have not yet reached. There is one escape hatch, and it matters. This dread only holds if Martian life arose on its own. If life simply hitched a ride on rocks blasted between the two planets, then Mars and Earth share one origin, and it proves nothing about how easy life really is. So everything depends on that fossil being a genuinely separate beginning. But if it is separate, then suddenly an empty Mars becomes something to pray for. A barren red rock becomes the most reassuring sight in the solar system. So let me bring this back to you. To the night sky over your head, we were told silence means loneliness. A cold and empty nothing with no one to talk to. Turn it around. That silence may be the single best piece of evidence we have ever found. Because if the sky is empty, maybe it is empty because the wall is real. Almost nobody gets past it. And we, against impossible odds, already did. The slime. That one merger. The long, brutal climb. We may be the ones who made it through. We are not screaming into the void hoping someone answers. We are standing at the end of a runway. And the runway is clear. No wall we can see. Just open space and a choice. What we build next is entirely up to us, as long as Mars stays dead. So here is the thought I want to leave you with. Every empty night sky you have ever stared up at, every time the stars looked silent and cold and made you feel small, that silence may have been telling you the most hopeful thing imaginable. You got through. Now, one question is yours to answer. Do you think the great filter is behind us or still waiting ahead? Tell me in the comments. And if these are the questions worth losing sleep over, subscribe, because the next one goes even deeper. The hard part might already be behind you. The runway is clear, so look up one more time. Not at the loneliness, at the open road. You got through. Now go.